Hi everyone. I haven't done this for quite a while, so I thought I'd give you a guided meditation. This one's to play just before rest, whenever that time is for you. What we're going to do tonight is harmonize your heart and your brain. I know there's a lot of people who think that you just need to think with your heart or just think with your brain. And believe me, you can do both or neither or one at a time. You can use your stomach. I would imagine that every single cell in your body has its own heart. And it probably thinks different than you do. So it's important to know that our bodies are very, very intricate and beautiful, and everything is meant to work. There's no creature alive here, or that would be alive here, that did not have a perfectly working system. We don't have to understand it. I think in our challenge to become more sentient and more all-knowing and to do what most even religions have taught us, to conquer this world, we have forgotten what is basic and what is easiest. And that is that everything is meant to work. We would look around and see all these horrible things going on. And if we go into pretty much any city in the world or town, you can tell a lot about that place, whatever their center building is. Do you know what I mean? Something that has some sort of pyre or has a temple-looking thing and pointed up towards the heavens, which is in general a good idea. But unfortunately, most of our cities, the major, most important thing is some sort of bank. Here, I'm in a interesting little place, but our highest building, tallest building in my town is the church, which is very interesting. And I know that I've been pretty against religions for a long time, but I didn't understand their power. And it's individual. You have to really believe. That's why I haven't really thrown my hat into a religion. But if you do believe, it matters. Anything that can take us away from thinking about ourselves or good is a very, very good thing. But tonight, let's forget all the stuff that's going on out there. And I realize there's a lot of stuff. But let's start with our head first. Because there's a natural psychedelic state of consciousness. I think it's why we tell stories. We all have this. We've always had this. Every civilization, every people. I think we lost our way when we stopped thinking of things as sentient and alive. You know, when you go back and look at all the cave paintings, you see animals, you see hunters, of course. But some of the earliest things that we did was value those animals, even though we were killing them to eat. It looks like we were worshiping them. I think one of the, if you want to call it fall from grace perhaps, when we think of things as an it instead of a he or a she, we think of them as the other, it changes us actually neurochemically. It does. And you can try it yourself. If you look at, say, a plant in your house, talk to it like it's an it. Or if you change and think of that as a sentient being, if you look at your food and think of that as joining you and being another important thing, it changes everything about you. You know what I mean? Now, there is a little gland in your head that not only plays a crucial role in our psychological well-being, but it enabled the key for unlocking part of our potential, the potential of humanity itself. This gland, like most of our very important buildings, believe it or not, in this gland, there is floating water, a reservoir of water with crystals that are actually piezoelectric. I know it's pretty cool. But it's not just piezoelectric. It's piezo-luminescent, believe it or not. If you have a little lighter and you hit the lighter, then you get a little spark that comes out. That's from a crystal being compressed. And well, as the crystal is compressed, it releases photons in your brain. And these little floating crystals in your head actually have a quality that can, I think it's called piezochromatosome. It releases colors too. So sometimes when you close your eyes and you see colors, or when people have religious experience and they see these lights, well, it's really happening. It's in your head. There's a rainbow of light in your head. The rainbow is DMT. It's the main chemical that does this, but there are many, many chemicals that you release from your pineal gland. The DMT kind of chipped out of a tray. It's synthesized in you. You hit it. It lights up. You do it by holding your breath and releasing and pulling up, kind of pushing your awareness up to the top of your head, and this releases a light. It's actually the closest thing that we have, like an electric eel. Your whole body being full of light. I think even Jesus said this. The colored lights, bursts of greens and yellows. And you can get all these things from getting high, or you can get all these things from learning how to use your brain. These crystals floating in your brain. If you learn how to work this, you learn the secrets. And this gland allows us to see a wider area of things. Things that are not normally accessible, but are always there. Remember the images of Buddha, the little halo. And there's always a little halo around the Buddha or Jesus or any kind of godlike figure. Well, it's real. This light, this halo, these beams of life itself, they're there. And they help you learn. They help you remember. They probably are what connect us to the field. One of the things that connects us to the field. Clairvoyance. Jesus said that the eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye be clear, your whole body will be full of light. If Rene Descartes was right, and the pineal gland is indeed the seed of the human soul, then all of these religious traditions are correct, believing that it serves as a link between the physical and the spiritual worlds. It is why there's always a hero story, and we are all living that hero story. We always do. As a child, being told what to do, living by someone else's rules, striking out on your own, the trials you must go through, the thing that usually has to do with crossing a border or a threshold, going to a new thing. We are all doing this every day. We all have to cross between the physical and spiritual worlds. Our third eye. But each chakra, if you will, connects to an organ. So, what is fascinating, I think anyway, is this sixth chakra plugs into the pineal gland. It has photoreceptors on it. Yet, every single ancient tradition knew this. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. What they ever knew about anything like photoreceptors. But it shows me that there was a lot more going on in the past than our little technology can do right now. Yes, we do science, but I don't think we're very good at it. In the scheme of things, science is pretty new. And again, I think we suck a little bit at that. I do. I'm sorry, I do. So, pineal gland is lined on the inside with a tissue called pineal site. These are tiny little yellow sites, similar to the rods and the cones, that they're same as the retina in your eye. That's right, it's your third eye, literally. So the brain has a third eye right in the center of your head. And it also has the same kind of tissue as your eye, same wiring as your physical eyes due to the visual cortex in your brain. How did they know? How did everyone seem to know? Way back then, when we were still arguing about those people who didn't know anything, and they're in caves and run around naked. How did they know anything? Well, Looks like the new stuff. We have always possessed all the technology that we've needed in our bodies, in our brain. These vibrating crystals, this rainbow, this release. People think you can only get that we're doing a drug. But everyone who's had an out-of-body experience or near-death experience sees these things, this thing they call the silver cord sometimes, linking their body, their physical side, to something else. And I think it's the pineal gland. Is a connection to these higher dimensions, giving us physical and psychic and spiritual admittance into realms that are always there, but we just don't see them because our eyes have been blinded to what's around us, because we have to live in a world that is difficult. But I guess part of our challenge is not to forget this world. It's to live in it and not sell out. I think that's the biggest thing. Not to run, because I've done that myself. I checked out for the last couple of years, really. I wasn't a part of this world at all. So I was dead, really. So you can live and be completely dead. Or you can live with all of these things going on all around you and not let it affect you. Yes, you have to see it. You have to. You can't annoy it. You can't ignore it. You can't. But there are challenges. And there's a chance of a greater awakening, if you will, as a whole. This awakening does not come without its challenges and oppositions. It's well known that four-eyed interference happens all the time, you know. The functioning of your endocrine system, the glands, are actually gateways to your spiritual connection, to all your energetic layers. And I think what's really going on here with our poor bodies that are trying to fight all of these things, the fluorides, the toxins, and absolutely everything. That strange sound that's happening outside all the time now. Everything is trying to shut us off spiritually, to keep our brains and our hearts and our bodies locked down to stay in the program, to shut our wide-eyed view. There's so many things that disrupt your nervous system, artificial sweeteners that trick your body into thinking it's getting something sweet, and then when it doesn't happen, your body starts to attack you. Yes. Most of the time we're not aware of what's going on because we haven't been told. We can't be taught. Doctors tell you to lose weight and you say, how? They have no idea. They have no idea. Most are unaware And I'm talking even the spiritual people trying to help us, especially with food. They can be scary too. But most are unaware of the potential that we have in our bodies right now that we do not have to fight against. Most people aren't living a life that is healing or nurturing or generous. Not in the way we're capable of. We just had an election here in Ontario. You know what? 52% of people chose not to vote at all. That means they've already given up. And I've listened to the excuses. I've used them myself, that we can't do anything. Do you know what that does? Really? To yourself, mentally? Thinking that you're helpless? That there's nothing you can do? Oh my God, the ways this shuts us down. No wonder our children are in trouble. Our children are in trouble because we are in trouble. So, let me speak to your heart. Everybody listening, and thank you for coming today. So everyone in their hearts have approximately 40,000 specialized cells that are like brain cells. So they're not in your brain, they're in your heart. They're called sensory neurons. So they are brain-like cells in your heart. They're concentrated in such a degree that they actually call this the little brain in the heart. So what does this mean? It isn't a metaphor like we thought it was. People think it's a joke, it's an analogy, but I'm saying there are literally neurites in your heart, the little brain in the heart, that it learns independently from the neurons in your brain. It thinks independently from the neurons in your brain. They can remember independently from the neurons in your brain. They can communicate with us separately from the neurons in our brain in a language that we may or may not recognize, because we are conditioned to see the world through our brain, not our whole brain, just little pieces of our brain. And that whole right side, left side, no, that's crap. Your whole head works. It's supposed to work. But most people, the entire center of their brain is non-functioning, which means that the sides don't communicate easily. This is our stories, I guess, of the separation, why there's a male and a female, why there's a left and right, why there's an argument, why there's all these things. The center combines everything, and most people don't have that. So the disconnection that does, it changes how we can see the world. But if we're lucky, at some point in our adult lives, we get to connect with our hearts so we can have access to these specialized neurites. We can work with your brain independently of our hearts. I think most of us know how to do that part very, very well. But we can work with the heart independently of the brain. Scientists say it's about the brain, forget about the heart. Many that I've been around, a lot of my friends, say it's all about the heart, forget about the brain. People now chastise the brain, the left brain is bad, it's a bad thing. But here's what science is showing us. And again, we don't science very well, but occasionally we hit something right. What it's showing us now, both of those ways of viewing ourselves are incomplete. And it's not good. When we marry the heart and the brain together, and again, all the great stories, there is a marriage, and that is the combining. This is how we reconcile those things that cannot be reconciled. There must be a joining, always. When we harmonize the heart in the brain, this is the extended neural network that makes us different from all other forms of life that we understand. This is what connects us to the other. This is what gets us beyond the barrier. And there's always a barrier. The point where you look and you're not sure if you should go into the unknown. But this is our deepest empathy, our compassion, our intuition. This is where it comes from. So people say, well, why don't you do something? What would be the purpose of harmonizing your heart and your brain? But it means more if you know that there's something very, very special about this, that we are able to harmonize the little brain in the heart with the big brain in the head, so we can do that heart-brain harmony. And it has so many benefits. And they're different from one another. But, for example, we can process information far faster if we're using our heart. I mean, really fast informational recall. And here's what makes sense. Here's the reason why. When we access the information in our heart with our intuition, we don't have to go through all the logic and the self-talk and the fear and the self-esteem issues and the I'm bad or I'm ugly or I'm fat or I'm stupid. Oh my God. We get a chance to bypass that, which is why meditation just before bed is so important, because your brain is already starting to slow down. If you have it dark around you, your body is starting to relax. If you do this just before bed and just early, if you wake up early, just to have that time to harmonize again, your brain doesn't get in your way. And it's really nice when you're out of your own way. We get to bypass all the self-esteem issues and all the doubt that we have in our brains. We get to step away from our ego and our mental functions. Our heart doesn't work that way. Affirmations now are very, very powerful tools to implement change in our life anytime, but they are especially potent. And here's the key. We get to cross the gate and communicate directly with our subconscious in a language that the subconscious recognizes through channels that the subconscious recognizes. So when we can harmonize our heart, inner brain, what we're doing is opening a hotline to that subconscious. That's where we would introduce our affirmations, our perfect relationships, our healing. This is where the healing begins in our bodies. Extraordinary states of intuition, deep intuition, are available through this harmonizing in the heart, in the brain. There's 3 key steps to harmonizing the heart in the brain. First, will sound fairly obvious, and there may be a little bit more to it than what I've been led to believe, but I think it's probably pretty simple. I'm inviting you to shift your awareness from your thinking mind into your heart. We are so conditioned to being in our mind that sometimes when we're asked to do that, when we're in our heart, we're not actually in our heart, we're in our head, but we're thinking that we're feeling something, but we're not sure. We're still in our head, usually. So, thinking about it, what I'm going to let you do is something I've learned. Luckily from my dad. I got really lucky. But from what I've heard too, these are things that monks and monasteries and abbots and monasteries, that they all do the same thing. So I would invite you to gently touch your heart center in a way that's comfortable for you. It can be with a single finger, an open palm, as they do in the Mayan traditions. And pretty much, I think, in many Middle Eastern traditions too, Buddhists create a prayer mudra, usually somehow nestled in that spot right there in the middle of the hollow of your chest. A gentle pressure there. You can feel it. Yet your breath changes almost immediately. But whatever is comfortable for you. And here's the thing. Here's why this is important. Because your awareness will always go to the place in your body where you feel the touch, where you feel the sensation. So in whatever way is comfortable for you, touch your heart center now. Draw your awareness. And that will immediately let you know that you have shifted from your mind and your heart has taken over. I, of course, are doing the same thing right here. Just allow your awareness to move to the place where you feel that touch. And relax. And breathe. Step number 2. I will invite you now to slow your breathing just a little bit, maybe 5 seconds. On the inhale, to do that, try this. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold it for 7. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. And out through your nose for 8. The count isn't all important. Just breathe slowly on the exhale. Whatever you're comfortable with, whatever's comfortable for you. Here's why it's important. This sends a very powerful signal to your body. The first signal, shifting from your mind to your heart, that says, I'm turning my attention inward. And that's powerful. The second signal right now is when you slow your breathing. The only time you would breathe this way is that you are in a safe place. You're telling your body that right now I am in a place that is safe, and that frees your body to let go of stress hormones, feelings of stress, and when that happens, it awakens the healing chemistry because your body can only do one or the other. It is either resting and repairing or it is getting ready to run. So it does one or the other. So now we're letting go of these stress hormones. Now we're giving our body permission to awaken the healing chemistry and our body's powerful immune response, anti-aging hormones, all of those. So breathing a little slower from the place where you feel the touch, telling our body that we're safe. Breathing in, know that you're breathing in. Breathe out, and know that you're breathing out. And the deeper you go, the better you feel. And the better you feel, the deeper you go. And on this exhale, just let your body relax. And breathe at your own pace. Listen to the quiet all around you. and you were safe, and you were well, and everything you've ever wanted is right here already. Now, the third step, and this is a very, very important key, is very powerful, is very potent, and it's about feeling. I'm going to invite you to create a feeling in your heart. This feeling should be one of love or gratitude, thankfulness. Think of something that you were really, really grateful for, or someone you really, really love, unconditionally, no matter what they do, no matter what happens. And put that in your heart. That feeling, that love, that gratitude in your heart, where you feel the touch, where you're breathing, in and out with that feeling to the best of your ability. If you can feel one or some combination, care for anything or anyone, appreciation for anything or anyone, gratitude or compassion, care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. What the researchers have found is that these 4 key words will trigger the experience in our heart and our brain and create coherence point of 1 hertz, which is gamma, basically. And to your best of your ability, feel those feelings as you breathe from your heart center. In the place where you feel the touch, give you just a moment to that. Feel that feeling. Close your eyes. Rest into that feeling. Feel your hand. Breathe in. Breathe out. And smile. And rest in that feeling at this moment. We are doing this together. Now if you take one more deep, slow breath, and as you release that breath, what I want you to know is this act is very ancient, very primal, and it's the key to the deepest truth of who and what you as an individual are in this world. This is where super learning comes from, or when you're working to solve or create something new, a new painting, a new piece of music, write a book, create poetry, something new. It comes from this deep space. This is the process that gives you resilience to a changing world and allows you to embrace change in a really healthy way. And once again, if you're not into any of those things, it will trigger over 1,300 biochemical reactions. Again, from anti-aging hormones that we don't even really address, but it triggers an immune response, cardiovascular health, all of these from a simple act, this simple, ancient, primal act. So I invite you to take one more deep, slow breath and release gently, slowly. So you're shifting your awareness from the act of harmonizing your heart and your brain. But I want you to know that the cascade of biochemical connections that you've just initiated doesn't end when you open your eyes, doesn't end right here. When you take that deep breath, they will continue. And what the laboratories have been saying, what they've shown again and again, is that they can last for at least 6 hours, which is why you should do it before sleep. That the immune response in your mouth, because the saliva, which they used to think was just about digestion, but it isn't. There's many, many more things. So the saliva gives you immune response chemicals, helpful ones. The most powerful first line defense in our immune system is kicked into overdrive by doing this simple thing right now, and it lasts over 6 hours. And all you did was have a feeling and to breathe in the most natural way. I know some people think it's not true, that it's too simple. And we live in a world that simple is disrespected now. We make everything so complex. Nature is simple. Silence is simple until we use big words and a lot of equations to describe the world, but it all comes down to you and me and earth and God and relationships and plants and animals, and it's not them versus us. I don't know when it started to be all of these things versus us, God against the world against God, the plants against us, we against the animals. My God, how are we doing this? But simple relationship of what we just did, breathing in, breathing out, calmly, sweetly, changes everything. So, I hope this made you feel good. And you can listen to this anytime. And I hope it makes you feel better. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for doing this with me.